Hello everybody, it's Tommy and welcome back to another Creative Sim for the Disney Save. Today we are going to be making the main family from the Good Dinosaur. This includes Papa Henry, Mama Ida, Buck, Libby, and of course the main character Arlo. I will also be doing Spot in today's video. He's a little bit of a complicated situation and I'm going to take some time to explain why he's kind of included in this main household, but he's actually at the very end, so we will get to that in a little bit. I think when I originally pictured these characters in my head way back when I knew that they would be included in the save but I wasn't really sure where, I kind of thought maybe I would make them aliens because I could picture them being green, I could picture them being like more lizard-like, and there really isn't another occult that I feel like lines up with that decision. But I already made so many aliens in Oasis Springs. This is probably my world that has the most aliens, and it might be for like the duration of the save, who knows. But that's because I did Bug's Life, and a lot of those characters, if not all of them, end up being alien sims. And this household goes in that same exact neighborhood. So I could have done like this giant alien neighborhood, but I actually really like the diversity of not doing something like that. And I thought to myself, why not just make them human sims and then use a lot of makeup and some scaling and some shading and things like that. That new face glow from Lovestruck that I was using for the Bugs Life characters that you can actually change the hue of to give like variations and ombre looks to the skin tone and kind of layer a lot of that stuff on to give them a very different look but still make them human. The thought process behind that also kind of being the reason I made the Bugs Life characters aliens is because I feel like in their movie, they are kind of like the alien of their given universe. They never really run into humans to my recollection. There might be like some feet or things that are shown, but they're definitely a part of the human world and they are the odd ones out of the situation. But the premise of the Good Dinosaur is essentially what if the meteor never hit Earth and the dinosaurs never went extinct? The dinosaurs basically become the humans of that given universe. So they become and take on a lot of human-like characteristics, including like language and farming and some kind of society. So making them humans actually makes the most sense. And I know they're green and that's a little funky, but it is an option in the game and it's not one that I usually take on. Typically, if one of my sims has an odd skin tone, they're going to be a occult sim, pending their actual character lining up better with being a human if it's like an odd Disney character. Another one of my thoughts, and some of you are really gonna hate this, and I know that, but I never get an opportunity to do something like this. I decided to leave this entire family bald because I felt like it made them look more like their dinosaur characters. This is already a really tough translation. There's very few things that I can go off of characteristically to kind of carry over to the Sims. They each, as a family, have varying shades of green skin. Some of them are a little bit more spotty and worn in if they are older, like Father that we're creating first in the video. He's got some wear and tear to his skin. He has some like sun marks and things like that that I can sort of replicate, but the children really don't. They also have these really big noses and really giant eyes, especially Arlo. And there is a couple of like little features and things I can pull out, but I felt like leaving them bald and not trying to find hairstyles that do suit them actually helped with the resemblance in this case. I also thought about doing this when I made the Bugs Life characters because a lot of them do not have hair, obviously, but I'm glad I didn't make that decision because this helps this family stand out quite a bit, and it does help them look, in my opinion, a little bit more like dinosaur-y and lizardy and kind of how their actual art design is in the movie. There are a couple of little things that could help me, like Buck, I would say older brother, but he's not technically. Like Arlo, Buck, and Libby are actually born at the exact same time. I had to rewatch the movie to remember that because I think I was going to vary them in ages, but they're all born together. They're just in different eggs. But Buck looks the most like his father, Libby looks the most like his mother, and I would say Arlo is a really good combination between the two of them, but he does have some features that make him actually stand out between the entire family, which is obviously intentional. As far as clothing goes, I decided to stick with the farmer wear. These guys are going to be mostly living and staying on their farm. I did make the children of the family teens. They are probably ranging somewhere in the like 11 to 14 years old, so I think you could have gone child, and I think some people probably would have, but I saw this as an opportunity to do teens, and they do a lot of really hard work on the farm, really long days, and especially like I was thinking about Buck and Libby, and they just didn't strike me as younger, even though Arlo potentially does, but I think that's the point. They are technically all the same age, but Arlo's a little bit underdeveloped socially, and he's nervous, and he doesn't have that same kind of confidence that his other siblings do have. So that's definitely something that just happens amongst teens, and you have your early bloomers and your late bloomers. So we're just gonna add in 3 new teens to the family. The only unfortunate thing about that is that they're gonna have to go to Sims school, so they're not gonna be as helpful on the farm as they are in the movie. But if you saw the speed build video, I did give them a rather ambitious farm, so they're definitely gonna have to throw in a helping hand here and there. And with some mods, if you are somebody who likes to do that, I am sure there is a mod out there that allows you to not put certain teens in school. And you can quit school. I've tried to implement this in the save for a few different characters that are teens. However, I find it to be a little bit buggy unless you actually walk the sim all the way through the process of like failing or quitting school, which I don't always like to play the save file physically for that long. I only like to play it as long as it takes to actually put all of the information into the save file. I don't want to be playing days and days and weeks, and it can kind of screw things up as far as like sharing it with other people. So that's the kind of give and take with making that decision. But even if I had made them children, they still would have had to go to school. So I think that this makes the most sense. Whenever I make a family, I always try to use the genetics to see how well I did. I actually find that the Sims 4 genetics works really well. And if you can really nail down a set of parents and their children truly do have some of their features, which in particular for Pixar films, that seems to be the case, that the characteristics really do carry over. Whereas some of the other like older Disney films, I would say like when they made the sequels, some of their children don't necessarily, in my opinion, look exactly like their parents. But for Pixar, I would say if you can make the parents correctly, the genetics will work for The Sims 4. And I was really happy with how Buck had turned out in particular, because he already had the structure that I was looking for his face. He just needed a couple of little tweaks. The girls of the family got some like cottage living clothing. I wanted it to stay in the yellow and green range, but I was also okay with some oranges and browns, trying to bring in like the earth tones. I wanted them all to match, and I wanted them all to be from similar-ish packs and have like worker blue collar wear on. I feel like that makes a lot of sense for the things that they're going to be doing in particular. Because even with the children of the family, you don't get to see a lot of their personal interests because they just spend so much time actually working on the farm. So I think this could very much be a situation of going to school and then coming home and immediately helping with farm duties, whether they enjoy it or not. They probably don't have a lot of time for after school activities or hobbies of their own, so they end up kind of dressing in that worker class sort of look. Now, as far as Spot goes, and again, he is not on screen currently, he's going to be at the end of the video, but I just wanted to take a moment to explain him a little bit. I was really back and forth about, first of all, including him in this household or not. I think that in the past, I haven't included those more like nomadic characters that don't live with the main household and do have some kind of another living situation, even if it's never shown. Maui's a really good example. I didn't put him into Moana's household. He is a townie for the save, but I always do that with like the preface of you can change it if you don't like that. But I included Spot in this household because this movie is not, I would say, one of the more popular films, but if you are going to play with it and you're really excited about this family, you will have to play with Spot. He is the second most important character to the story, and he ended up being a toddler, which was the other big thing and big decision about making his character. And I didn't really want a toddler single sim townie. I don't even know if you can do that. I have done it with children before, but you sort of have to like make their parents and then kill their parents and save the household. I'm sure that if you did it with a toddler, it might work. It also might just delete the sim. I don't really know. And I felt like for ease of access to that character in particular, it just made sense to kind of include him in this household. He's not a part of the family genetically. I might do some kind of an adoption thing when I put it into the save. You can let me know, but technically that's not really right. So I'm also back and forth on that as well. Now, as far as the decision to make him a toddler, I think that a lot of people probably would have opted to make him a child, and I totally agree with that in a sense, but I'm going to give you my case for why I ended up going with toddler. So I actually ran a poll on this for my patrons because I was so back and forth on it. I like to be as accurate as possible, but there's certain things that I feel like I can change when it makes sense for the game game mechanics. So as far as like toddlers go, you can give them skills that help their movement be really, really good. So he can walk and like run around, and he as a toddler wouldn't be able to speak. So he would actually be a little bit more accurate to his character depicted in the film. The other thing is the art style of Pixar can sometimes be like very round and sort of stubby, and they like to make characters a certain way that I think de-ages them and makes, in my opinion, Spot physically look a lot smaller and a lot more in line with how the art style of toddlers are in The Sims 4. My research showed that it is probably guessed that he's somewhere around the ages of 7 or 8. It can obviously be argued, but I feel like making him a toddler makes him more dependent on certain characters, like he longs for a mother figure or friends, and he kind of needs that for the support aspect. It also leans into his like more feral nature, because the other idea was to possibly make him a dog. And again, I think a really long time ago when I pictured this family in my head, I was like, maybe I should make him a dog, but he just physically resembles a human because he obviously is, and I feel like I wouldn't have been able to fully do his character justice. Like if the version is available in the game, I tend to go for that. I would rather make cats cats and dogs dogs and humans humans. So even though like he acts more like a dog, I really just felt like making him look how he's supposed to was the best decision. But if we make him a toddler, he's a little bit more needy, he's a little bit more feral, he can be kind of wandering around the farm, getting into messes, causing problems. If he was a child sim, he goes to school with like everybody else, and I felt like that would be so weird to see him put on a little backpack and just like go off to school. It really, really killed the vibe for me. So I let my patrons know how I was feeling, and actually in the video you'll probably see some clips of me going back and forth and sort of creating him as both a child and a toddler, because I wasn't sure which one I was going to end up with, so I just included the footage from both. But the good thing is, if you don't like my toddler decision, you can just go into CAS and age him up and play him as a child. It's a very, very simple fix, so everybody wins. Some little details that Arlo got that I thought were really cute. I found these fun cargo pants that flare out at the bottoms and look like a little imbalanced. It made him look like the bottom of his feet were just like really big and bulky, and that's how his character is designed. He's very clumsy and he is just a little bit unproportionate in comparison to his siblings, so it kind of played into like his physical shape and made him resemble himself from the film a little bit more. He also gets one of the newer traits that was actually a part of the Sims 4 recent daily login bonus rewards event thing that they did. They gave us a trait and it was called Practice Makes Perfect. Now I've been a little bit hesitant about including some of these newer things, that login reward system as well as the Reaper reward system, which by the way, I cannot get to work. It is completely broken for me. I've tried everything, multiple save files, resetting my game. I'm not going to fully uninstall and reinstall just for this event. That's like catastrophic for me in terms of everything that I do here. So it's not really worth it for me, but just a side note, I can't get it to work. So I'm really hoping that they actually just give all that stuff away. They've said that they're not going to, which is incredibly disappointing because I'm not the only one that this event is like stuck or broken for or just not showing up for at all. I'm stuck on week 2 and I can't get through anything and can't get through the prompts. So that's really aggravating, but that's kind of a side note. The login rewards did work for me and they gave away a trait called Practice Makes Perfect, which means that Sims, when they try things in the beginning, are a little bit of a slower start and they don't gain the skill as quickly as other Sims, but then eventually they will persevere and sort of like gain it faster, if you will. And I felt like that just fit Arlo's character so well. And they are going to be giving, supposedly, I read, all of that stuff from the login rewards into base game in a future patch that might already be out. So I feel comfortable using that stuff at this point. I actually used that trait for Da also over in the Bugs Life household because it does fit her as well. So we've got 2 usages of that as of right now, which is kind of cool. It's a newer trait and I don't really like the naming of it. I felt like they could have just went with like perseverance or determined, something like that. But I thought I would call that out. And that is going to be the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed the Good Dinosaur family. Let me know what you thought of them in the comment section down below. And I will actually be doing one townie household that's going to make a lot of sense as soon as you guys see it for the Good Dinosaur really quick coming up next. So stay tuned for that. If you'd like to support the Disney Save on Patreon, you can do so by clicking the link in my description box down below or the one at the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and I will talk to you all in the next one.